So when you take into account your recruitment costs, onboarding costs, training costs, then costs associated with opportunities lost, customers lost, etc. So you're looking at 5 times the amount of salary, because it doesn't become very immediately apparent that this person's not the right person. So they're probably there maybe a year before you kind of pick it up, and then costs to manage them out of the business, time, morale, all of those things. So I want to say about £190,000 it's going to cost you if you get the wrong person in your business. Okay, so what I'm going to talk to you today about is to become a bit more scientific in your approach to hiring. So I'm going to have a quick chat about how to measure your recruitment success, figure out what the most reliable predictors of recruitment success are, and have a little bit of a re-questioning of the emphasis that we all place on certain selection methods. When you're measuring your recruitment success, who in this room does cost of hire? Yeah, time to hire. So that's just monitoring. You're monitoring that. It's all hindsight. You're reporting on it. Who measures quality of hire? Oh, great. Well done, you guys. So that is all about, that's insight. So it's taking that data, monitoring, evaluating it, and coming up with insight. So how we measure excellence? So we come at it in 3 different ways. So the first way is we look at the organisation. We look at the strategic goals of the organisation, where it is now, where it's going, what's important to them. We then look at the organisational values, so what the values are, what they say they are, and are they living those values? So whether it's values that they want to move on to or not. We look at the competencies that are important to the organisation. We look at leadership style, so what is the general leadership style within the organisation, and also look at the rules. So what is a person expected to do themselves? What do they have to ask to be able to do? We then look at the team, so look at the dynamics of the team, so what's working within the organisation, what's working within the team, what's the leadership or management style, and what's missing. So if you've got a team that's really working together well, what's going to add to that sort of cultural fit. So it's really important, if you're assessing people on culture fit, you actually can define what that culture is. Because I know a lot of people go, oh, not a good culture fit. What's your culture? I don't know. It's that kind of, unless you can define it, you can't assess people against it. And then the next thing we look at is which human is going to be the best person for the role. So we developed our own little model based on 100 years of research into selection. I'm going to talk about these all in a bit of detail, so I'm just going to whiz through this bit. So intellect, motives, values, behaviours, and then experience, which is the easiest to change and possibly the least reliable predictor of performance. So, talk about experience now. So, everybody, I would imagine, looks at CVs regularly as a part of their job. Yep, so CVs can be written by professionals. I don't know what the figures are, but lots of figures say that sometimes CVs aren't necessarily truthful. And it's all about your experience, your qualifications. So the likes of Google have done lots of research in terms of what a good person looks like for them, and academic success is not necessarily a predictor of future performance. So experience is not necessarily the best thing to look at. Behaviours, so this is where we're looking at psychometric testing potentially. So big studies globally saying that conscientiousness and emotional stability are the 2 biggest predictors of performance on the job. However, your problem with some psychometric tests is that it's how the candidate would like to behave. So given the option, but take the candidate and put them into your organisation. They have to behave, they have to conform. So it's all about understanding how they like to behave and then what strategies they have for dealing with the way that you want them to behave. Values. So very few people actually choose their own values. They've been shown to be quite stable from the age of 4. So you're given values by your parents, your friends, your teachers, your school, society, media even. So it's quite difficult to change somebody's values. So to look at values, you can do as a values-based recruitment process, for example, which has been shown to increase job satisfaction, reduce turnover, patient care. Lots of research has been done in the NHS. So a values-based recruitment process is probably a really good starter. And what we tend to do is, within our interview, we do a bit of the values-based questions, the competency-based questions to kind of mix it up. And we do like a scenario-based question as well. There's 2 types, vaguely, of motivation. So you've got the intrinsic, so I'm coming to work because it's fun, I'm coming to work because doing a job feels good, and then you've got the extrinsic, which is you're coming to work for the pennies so you can go on a nice holiday. Has anyone ever tried to change somebody's motives? It's not easy, is it? No. And so asking candidates, what motivates them. So we do a lot of work in terms of the onboarding piece to look at what is going to motivate that person, that new person in that job, and very much teaching the hiring manager how not to wind this person up. This is how to get the best out of this person. Because not many people do ask, what actually motivates you. And then my favourite, intellect. So I'm not saying here that, you need the brightest people for every job. What it is, it's all about what kind of thinking they can do. So, for example, if you've got an air traffic controller, you need somebody who is able to sort of concentrate for a long period of time, and somebody who is able to sort of solve quite complex spatial problems. You take that, and then you compare it to a police detective, for example. So again, you want somebody who's able to critically evaluate information they're given. And similarly to a air traffic controller, it's that complex problem solving again. So it's not necessarily always, raw ability. It's how they think, what judgments they make, how they solve problems. It's what you want to look at. And there's loads of ways of doing that, group problem solving exercises, individual exercises, your psychometrics as well can tell you if you need to be particularly good at maths or communicating with people. So there's a really, really quick whistle-stop tour through becoming a little bit more scientific in your approach to hiring. And I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a thought. So what is more important to you in your organisation? Is it to hire those excellent people, or is it to not hire those toxic people that are going to cost you best part of £200,000?